You guys asked me one common question, and it was, how do I shoot my cinematic sequences like these?
Confused on your window ledge. What if we run away? What if we left today? What if we said goodbye to safe and sound? Okay, now this how I'm feeling. Lately I'm like the villain, cause why they on that other shit? I've been posted out here chilling, Lord willing, I survive, but not like that 9 to 5. You know this, that shit that you bumping in your...
So, I initially was thinking this video was going to be a whole hell of a lot more simple than it actually was, but then I realized that a lot of what goes into creating these cinematic sequences is actually a fairly complex process. A lot of the techniques that I use for creating these is kind of like a reflex for me at this point. So while I was filming the example cinematic sequence, I realized there's a whole hell of a lot more that goes into this than I initially thought. So, this is going to be a brief overview of pretty much the entire process of creating at least one of the cinematic sequences that go inside of my vlogs. Now obviously there's usually like anywhere from like 4 to 6, sometimes 7 of these inside of each one, and the exact way as to how to shoot each one kind of varies, but this is at least going to give you an idea. So the first step that comes to them is shooting it, obviously. Now generally throughout my day when I'm vlogging, if I run into a scenario where I find something interesting or something appealing, usually I'll take and create a cinematic sequence out of it. Do I use any different equipment for when I shoot those? No. As you guys know, this is my daily driver. This is the Sony a7R II in combination with the Sony 28mm f2. Great little prime lens. And then I use the Rode VideoMic Pro, which is actually sitting on top of the current camera, which by the way is the Sony a7S and Sony 24-70. This isn't my setup, it's actually Hunter's. You guys saw him in a couple of the LA vlogs. He's letting me borrow it for a little while. With that being said, let's get into the next step, which is shooting it. We're in the kitchen right now. My dad's about to make some dinner, so I'm gonna get a couple of shots and run you through how to get those shots. When it comes to shooting these sequences, I go for about 5 to 10 shots total, and sometimes I'll get rid of some, sometimes I'll use more. Usually the first shot is the establishing shot, and that's basically going to be a little bit wider shot that's just gonna show what's going on. And then I'll move into detail shots, which will be like a little bit closer up. Those will show like a little, more of the pretty like focus pulls and stuff like that, camera movement back and forth, things being in and out of focus. That's pretty much what puts it all together. So let me show you how I'm gonna get some of those. So the shot that I'm getting right now is the establishing shot, which is basically this very wide scene that's sort of just showing everything that's going on, showing the environment, and it's just a good looking shot. And you'll notice I'm moving back and forth to provide this sort of nice camera movement. It's sort of like a sliding shot, which has a really nice feel to it and has this sort of cinematic look. Everything that I shoot, I generally will slow down half speed and turn it into slow motion. So everything is shot in 60 frames per second. When I put it on my editing, I slow it down by 50%, which makes it equivalent of 30 frames per second. So usually the next shots that I'm gonna get are gonna be the close-up detail shots. Now these are gonna be the ones where I'm doing kind of that interesting camera twisting movement. I'm also manually focusing, so I can sort of focus in and out of the object and create that like interesting sort of shallow depth of field look as I'm moving back and forth over objects. So we're back in the room here, and the next step in these sequences is editing, obviously. Now generally if this was being put into one of my vlogs, I would be editing the entire vlog and then piecing together sequences as it goes along. But in this case I'm just going to be editing a single sequence, which is actually going to be put in the video. So let's jump on the computer here and I'll show you a little overview. I'm not going to go too into detail exactly on how I edit things. Again, like I mentioned, this in reality is a much longer and more complex process than it actually kind of seems on the surface. So at one point I will dive into each of these steps and really pick and narrow them down as to like what you guys want to see. So comment down below anything that has really sort of interested you, and I'll potentially do a more in-depth video on that specific process. But let's start editing here. Alright guys, so we're inside of Premiere Pro here, and essentially what I've already done is I've gone ahead and cut up all the footage inside of a secondary sequence apart from the main video that you're watching as we speak. Now what I've already done is I've gone ahead and selected out the shots that I want to use. I've put them into slow motion, and now they're ready to have the color grade and everything applied over them and then cut up to music. Okay, so I now have the color grade over top of the footage, as well as the black bars, widescreen crop, the whole 2:3:5 cinematic look that everybody knows, as well as done a couple of my other fun little things. Now the next step would be to apply music underneath all the footage, take and cut up the footage to the beats of the song, or just whatever sounds good to you, and that's it. That's how I edit a cinematic sequence. It's fairly simple.
Yep. Yeah, she tripping. I don't know, she fucking with King Wavy.
So in summary, what is the purpose of these cinematic sequences? Well, for one, obviously you guys really like them. I mean, they're a very sort of aesthetic way to transition between different shots in a vlog. The goal with these cinematic sequences is to use them as transitions that are entertaining. So it transitions you from one subject to the next, you know, a different location to another, in a fun and sort of entertaining way. And obviously it gives me a chance to sort of demonstrate my skills as a videographer and a photographer, because photography also very much so plays into videography, as you know, vice versa. So it gives me an opportunity to sort of to play with those a little bit. If you guys have any questions about more in detail as to like each of these little processes that happen throughout here, comment down below. That being said, hopefully you guys enjoyed today's video. I haven't posted in like a week. I actually got really sick, and my voice still sounds kind of funky, at least to me. You guys may or may not notice it, but anyway, thank you so much for watching the video. Give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and I will see you guys
Now she wanna fuck
tomorrow.
with me. 2 zips, it's lit. Bang, roll, can't fit, squat, shit. All of my niggas finesse.